Ferrari, you're a few hundred miles further south, down in London. You host a big phone-in show on LBC Radio. What are your listeners saying about the referendum?
I think the referendum has been poorly handled by one Prime Minister for the Better Together campaign, and probably salvaged by a former Prime Minister for the same campaign. I think what I know of the Scots, and I don't know enough about them, but you are a very fiercely independent and proud people, and the suggestion that we start telling you, almost bullying you or hectoring you and warning you that you won't have the currency, you won't be part of Europe, you'll have to do this. This reminds me of being in school and being told not to look out of the window. The first thing you do is look out of the window. So the idea that you tell and pay people as patriotic and fiercely proud as the Scots to do that is plain bonkers. However, the Better Together campaign has probably been salvaged because I can't think of a worse cheerleader than Gordon Brown, and the fact that he's now come in on side of the campaign will probably mean it'll all turn around.
And Nick, how does Alex Salmond's message go down in London?
Alex Salmond is without doubt seen as one of the canniest politicians probably in the whole of the United Kingdom. He's played it very well. Again, I think he's reacted in exactly the way you should. If you perceive you're being bullied, you need to stand up to them. I was intrigued by what he said today. I've heard Julian just saying he came to Carlisle and he talked a little bit about how Scotland could be like the North. Well, again, I know I'm sitting a long way down south. I can offer this quick caveat for a moment. My mother is from Cumbria, so I'm allowed to speak about the North a bit, but the North is an extremely interesting place. You have brilliant areas like the Lake District, you have fantastic areas like that, and beautiful areas like the Peaks and indeed Carlisle, but you also have vast industrial wastelands where people are fighting for jobs, and it's charity shops and betting shops and supermarkets and nothing else. It was a strange simile to draw, I would suggest.
Julian, for people living in the borders, this is a much more practical issue than people living further down south, perhaps. Some people might live in the borders but work in Scotland. I mean, what are people's primary concerns? Is it the currency union?
Well, that would be a major concern if you think about it. If Scotland were to adopt a different currency from the rest of the UK, imagine the complexities. If you, let's say, lived in Dumfries and worked in Carlisle, you'd be paid in pounds sterling, but you'd go home and spend your money in whatever Scotland was using. And your take-home pay would fluctuate on an almost daily basis, depending on how the exchange rate moved. I mean, having said that, I don't think a lot of people in Carlisle actually think that when push comes to shove, that will happen. You know, there are plenty of examples. In fact, there's one just across the Irish Sea. You know, the Isle of Man is not part of the UK, it's not part of the EU, but it uses the pound, and it's a very small country. In fact, its population is slightly bigger than that of Paisley. So if the Isle of Man can function and can have the pound, then there's no reason, I wouldn't have thought, why an independent Scotland can't.